Your boys are back. Welcome to In Rotation Podcast. Your boys are back. Welcome everybody to In Rotation Podcast Playlist Edition. We got together to talk about one single song that I'm super excited to talk about. First of all, I'm your host, B. With us today, we have Jer, Nick, and Jay. What's up, guys?
What's up, B?
So I know we kind of started talking this weekend about recording the next episode, and it just so happened that Migos ended up dropping a song with YoungBoy NBA, and I was stoked for it, and I still really am. So really happy to be talking about it with you guys today. What were your guys' first takes on the song?
I loved it, man. I loved it on the first listen. I recognized that sample there, but I didn't know what it was from. I mean, I knew heard it somewhere, but I couldn't pinpoint what song it was from. And it sounded like I loved it on this new version, and I was vibing. I liked it.
Hell yeah!
What sample are you talking about, Jay?
So it led me to Googling it. 50 Cent from the Massacre, but the song is called "Get in My Car"
by 50.
But they do that little dun, 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 dun. And it starts off with that. And I love that little vibe. But when because I don't usually like it's if you do a sample like that, especially from a song that's somewhat I mean, it's not recent, but it's like kind of like it's in 2000s, or mid 2000s, I think. I'm like, you got to do the song well, or else I'm just going to be taken out. I'm going to want to listen to the original song, which I did really. So I went back and I listened to the entire album, which was cool. I thank Migos for that because it had me rediscovering old 50 Cent and as a musical artist and not just like a TV mogul and Instagram god.
Dude, I really wish 50 would come back, man. Every time I've heard him rap on recent tracks, he still got it, man. He still got that style. It's so unique.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, I thought it was a dope though. I thought it banged like that sample. I didn't know it was a sample or what it was from until Jay said something about it. But yeah, it's like from the first listen, like it reeled me in, like it had me hooked on it, like, yeah, it's one of the things like I can't understand what they're saying for the vast majority of the song, but I, listened to it a ton of times, like just over and over again, had it on loop a few times and just like, and every time I started up again, I was like, yeah, this is sick. So, it's a good little banger.
Yeah, I'd say I enjoyed it too. High energy throughout the whole thing. Always excited for Amigos single whenever those drop. Super stoked. B, you put me up on game for those last two singles that I missed. I haven't been like seeking out new music as diligently as I used to or have in the past. So super stoked giving those a listen too. Yeah, but this song went pretty hard. I enjoyed it.
I agree. It's probably like the hottest Migos song in a while. You talk about those last two ones; they were just all right. Like Taco Tuesday is like definitely like a throwaway Migos track. Culture 2 had so many of those that I wasn't too hopeful for this one. But I think really what potentially made it better was the fact that YoungBoy NBA was there on the track too. I feel like the Migos kind of realized that if they didn't like step it up and start like rapping, like NBA was gonna outshine them a little bit. So I think that really helped.
Yeah. The flows were sick. Definitely. Like that's the best that I've heard Migos rap in a while. I was flipping through the lyrics and like they're saying a lot of the same kind of content that they say in the past, but they're at least doing it with a little bit more like respectable swag. You know what I mean? They actually kind of brought it on the flows a little bit. And I think you're absolutely right. I think YNBA was part of what kind of brought that out of them for sure. Cause I'm a pretty big fan of his. And he's got a sick recognizable style when he really gets it with his bars. And he brought that and you could tell kind of that Migos were coming to match it, especially the way that they were kicking, the verses back and forth and stuff like that. It was a sick, almost like a kind of almost like a battle, obviously not like an actual battle, but it had that kind of that feel of the back and forth,
Definitely. It's the best Quavo sounded in a long time too, man. And there
Mm,
wasn't no like auto tune or just, you know, he was actually rapping, man. And
mm.
Hmm.
it really brought me back to, you know, why I fell in love with Migos music in the first place. It was actually hard. You could still imagine this on the radio too, right? So
Hmm.
you didn't like cross over too far any one direction of being too radio friendly or being too like hard old school Migos. So it was definitely right up my alley for sure.
Yeah, I think NBA definitely, you know, oh, NBA. I think the NBA, YB brings like a different level, a different style, you know, than Migos usually brings. And yeah, it's like for me, like additionally, or like in agreement with Nick, like, yeah, like Migos definitely stepped it up to kind of match that. And the result was a really sick song. You know, with the back and forth, like you said, that made like everything like more dynamic. Add an extra element of like sort of like, oh, okay, see, like that's pretty sick, like nice. And it's like it it's a theme throughout the whole song too. The choruses, the verses, everything, just like that back and forth, which is really sick for me.
Yeah, it definitely was pretty original for that. I mean, it's just so much trading back and forth. And Offset and NBA have a really good energy too. It's I would almost want to hear more from them too.
Mhm.
And surprisingly, you know, I don't think there was one person who kind of like outshone everyone else on the track. Everybody like brought something different, which was dope.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were all on a high level. I didn't. I'll be honest. Like I don't know who's rapping at what point in the song.
Yeah.
I don't know Migos. I respect Migos and I like Migos. Definitely songs that I put on like when I'm like getting together with people, drinking, like partying, kind of stuff. But I never. They're not like my top favorite artists I go to all the time. But definitely love them. And I'm not YBNBA. That's a mouthful, but I'm not as familiar with him either. But I know that you guys always talk about him. You guys really respect him. You can tell he's legit on this song.
Totally.
But the no auto tune thing is a huge point, dude. It's authentic. It's way more authentic without the auto tune, and you can tell that their flows don't get barred down or weighed down by the auto tune. I can appreciate it more.
I think
So
that speaks to even like what B was saying earlier. Like
yeah.
Quavo comes like really hard with his part of that verse. It's like you can't even hardly tell him apart from. I know he's rapping with Takeoff. You know, like going back and forth with Takeoff on that verse. It's like, yeah, it's hard to even tell him apart just because Quavo is like, you know, coming with a different style than he normally does with the auto tune and stuff.
I think a song can suffer when there's like a, 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 a noticeable change in tone of like when there's like a rapper featured on like a song with like a Bruno Mars or something, a Bruno Mars song or like a singer song, and then they completely switch into like a rap verse. Sometimes I don't like it unless they do it well because it completely changes all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, dude, this is a different. But this whole and this is a different scenario because they're all doing bars. But I just felt like it was fluid through the whole thing. And then a lot of people say that Migos do the same flow and same sounding flow over and over again. And I guess you can argue that on this song, but I thought they did subtle like changes in their voice on the hook. They did subtle cadences, subtle transitions and the little thing. And that's all I really need, just take me along to this song and that beat I love. So I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting to enjoy it, to be honest. And I was vibing. It was late at night. I was vibing. Let's put it that way.
Hell yeah, man. And it's really like one of the perfect combination of Migos elements for me. The producer on the track, Buddha Bless, he's done stuff like Big Amount by 2 Chainz, called Casting from Culture One, which is one of my favorite Migos songs because I do love me some piano. So it went super hard. And actually, when I was looking up the lyrics, I guess 50 actually had a writing credit of some kind on the track too. So no idea what actually he was involved in, but I thought that was pretty rad too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that beat was blessed by Buddha, right?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, that beat was super blessed. It's a trip because like that beat like rides through the whole song, like it never stops. It's just like
Mhm.
you ride that beat like super hard for however long it is, probably like 2.5 minutes, right? But it goes hard. They get everything they can out of that beat.
Mhm. Yeah, it's the. I was just gonna say that I think that beat helps kind of drive that energy of the song, and like it really does. Like again, like I mean, especially with like Culture Two, you know, like they got even further away from kind of a lot of like their bars, and they went more kind of mainstream radio. And like Quavo's gotten to the point where like he's not even like the same anymore. Like I don't even know like what kind of music he's making, but it's not like when I got on board with like Bad and Bougie, you know, back in, you know, and even that was like I think he was already kind of starting to change from what his original kind of style was. But you know, it kind of, you know, brought me back a little bit back to what I really liked about them. And I think that beat is what helps drive that, you know. So
Yeah, I think everyone knows the problem with Migos and Quavo especially is just the oversaturation. After Culture One came out, like they were doing features all the time. Quavo was on every song, and again, it's just I think the more you're out there, the less hungry you get. And I thought that again, going back to the addition of Young Boy on the track, I really felt like it made them hungry again, and I hope that we get more of that on the next album. And going back towards more Culture One than Culture Two, which was just way too long. And there were good moments on the album, and definitely like I think the best moments were when they were kind of changing things up, like Stir Fry, Narcos. Those were all dope because they sounded so fresh. And I hope we get more of that next outing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I forgot those were two of my favorite songs off of Culture Two. But yeah, everything you said about that album was true. It was way too long. And if you like passively listen to that album, it all sounded like the same, even though they were doing different things on like every song. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't be able to identify other than like literally like those like couple of songs that were on there. It's like it's just all sounds like, what was it, like 2 hours long or some crazy thing? Like it was a super long album of just like all the same kind of thing. So it was nice to see them come back with something fresh that, from the second the song starts, you're like, oh, okay. You start kind of bobbing with that loop, on there. So
yeah, Nick, we know you were dancing to this one. Yeah, this is like the type of song that gets me excited for like a new Migos full length for sure. And I hope to be reviewing that, here one day soon.
It's a must.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was coming in summer or something like that. So hopefully we won't have to wait too much longer.
Yeah. Yeah, summer is right around the corner. Why be NBA? I remember my rap alias name is based off of his name. Old boy always broke again.
These are tough times, man.
Dude, I remember when he first came on the scene, I was like, dang, dude, that 5-letter acronym.
Hey, what are some of the best YBNBA songs that I need to get into? Because I'm so done with what he puts out. I need to get into it. What are some of you guys' top songs?
So the album his full length that he just put out, what was the one that Nick? I'm sure maybe you remember. I could look it up though.
I only got about halfway through that album. I started listening to it when we were kind of putting up stuff for the next episode, but I was kind of jumping around to some other things, so I didn't actually get all the way through it because I thought I was going to end up listening to that album like 5 or 10 times. So I kind of paused a little bit into it. But you guys know me; I'm so bad with song names, dude. I couldn't tell you a single one.
I'm terrible with song names, man, because of Spotify. Because I'm listening.
The album is Until Death Call My Name.
Okay, I'm gonna start there.
Just listen to the whole album, man. That whole he's very consistent, and what I love about him is he changes up his flow so much, and he just is really good at melodies, like the melodies he creates with his flows and changing it up, and the inflection of his voice. Like he just kind of gets it, I feel.
Yeah.
And you know, that energy that you heard on the track, like he does that everywhere. And
Nice.
you know, he also has some slower songs too, some, you know, introspective songs as well. So there's a lot to like coming out from him.
Yeah, he's got a level of artistry that you don't see as much in hip hop, you know what I mean? Where he's really he's out there, you know. I mean, there's something, it almost reminds me a little bit of like Young Thug or something like that, which is kind of the way that he likes to play with stuff, you know. He you can tell that he's like a musician, like he likes to put like musicality and stuff like that to his lyrics. So you're definitely not going to get like bored listening, you know, to his
Oh,
stuff.
that's legit. Yeah, that's all music to my ears right there. Because I like pushing the guys that push the limits. I love Young Thug. But the thing about with Young Thug with me is the sound of his voice.
Yeah,
I still like his songs. It's not like I don't like him. But if I really love the way this guy he sounded on this track. So if he's doing the same type of thing, kind of pushing his boundaries, getting experimental with it, real artistic with it, that sounds like perfect, man. What I'm looking for.
He has a really good ear for beats too. It always sounds like the production that he ends up going with. I mean, obviously this one, you know, he got this beat probably from working with Migos more than anything. But, and I would say, and you know, Nick, maybe correct me if you think I'm off base here, but the beats that he does get, there aren't always just like trap, like generic trap. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's another thing where he plays with, you know, he plays with stuff. So you're definitely not gonna, I mean, you're gonna get a lot of those like the triplet hi-hats and stuff like that. Like you're gonna get that element in a lot of it, but not in everything, you know. And he definitely he spices it up, changes it up, you know. He like we said, he's got some slow songs too, you know. So I mean, he really kind of does the full spectrum as far as hip hop goes, at least.
Right. I mean, again, the lyrics aren't going to be anything crazy groundbreaking, but you know, if you're listening or looking for like a vibe or something like that, it's a good place to go.
Speaking of lyrics, though,
yes.
You guys have any like standout like references or anything like that? Like, I know for me, we're gonna crash like Bandicoot.
I was gonna say the same thing.
That was dope.
I was like, yeah, that was up there for me. I don't know. I thought there was some pretty clever shit in here as far as the lyrics go.
There was one bar, the stick got an ELL. My aim on point, shooting that Glock gave me pain in my joints. That just like made me laugh for some reason. Like you're getting fucking like arthritis from shooting your guns or something like that. You don't get a lot of realness in hip hop like that, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I like I like the wrist look like a snow cone or whatever. Like I don't know, like I'm always like late to the party on like what these like new like phrases and stuff mean, you know, like dab a ranch. Like it took me a while to like know what
oh my god,
you know what I mean?
I forgot about dab a ranch.
Yeah, but so that the snow cone, I was like, okay, that's clever. Like I like that. Like I don't know if people have been saying that for a while. This is like the first song that's been on there. That's one thing about Migos though, is like sometimes they'll come up with like, they just get these catchphrases that then all of a sudden people like start to use to like describe stuff, you know.
Yep.
And they set the culture.
And always with the ad libs for sure.
Yeah.
Man,
oh, for sure.
There was no lack of that.
Dude, I totally forgot about Dabber Ranch. I'm gonna go listen to that after we get off this podcast, man. I was so stoked when I found their chips too.
Yeah, I can't believe you actually got some of those chips.
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah, bro. Got me a Dabber Ranch for sure.
Yo, I got a quick question for you guys. Like the song title, Need It. Like, what do you guys think of that as a song title? Like, I don't what does he need though? What's it?
That's the deepest question anyone's ever asked about Migos.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. We might have to get
I don't know, but that phrase drove the song well though. Like I just believed it, whatever it was, you know what I mean? I was just like, yeah, need it. You know? But like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I never even questioned. I was just like, yeah, I think I need it too.
yeah.
Yeah, so I never questioned it. But it just made me feel good. It's like I need whatever I want. I need it. I need it. And
Yeah, I was
about to say.
my bad. Yeah, I would say it's like a general, just like maybe like street hustle, like need it, like getting after it, getting the bag, like.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what the song is about. I mean, it's really not about much of anything at all, except like flexing and
Yeah,
shit like
exactly.
that. But
Yeah.
I mean, for a playlist, that's the kind of shit you want, you know?
Yeah.
No, totally. Flexing,
It's just the way
like,
that the way they.
overconfident.
Oh my bad, dude. I'm cutting you off now.
No,
My
you're
bad.
good. I just didn't deserve it.
Just the way they add, it's just a sick vibe, and the way they deliver it is really good. And like with it's sometimes it's like they'll tack something on at the very end, but then it leads into the next line. So it's actually pretty more complex, the structure of it, than people would give them credit for. But the lyrics are just more like cool, dope, like zingers or some shit like that, or like. But the way that they set it up and their flow seemed when I'm looking at it now, it's kind of like makes me respect it more, and you don't really notice because it goes so smooth, but it's like all these kind of cool switch ups that they do. So yeah, shit's pretty dope.
I couldn't have been more stoked about that, dude. When I first listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, it's sick! They're doing these back and forths, like." That's so sick. Like I hadn't like seen that. Not only are they like spitting bars and like, you know, because Migos has a tendency to, you know, not a tendency, but like they can fall into duh, 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 duh. Like it's just kind of like repetitive or monotonous or whatever. And this, like, it keeps you on your toes the whole time. So like I was really amped like when I first heard it, and was super happy with like the complexity of having it go back and forth. I know it's like take off. It was Offset and YMBA. Take off. Okay, Offset and YBNBA. They're like on the chorus together, right, doing their back and forth, and they have a verse together too. And then we got Takeoff and Quavo. They got their verse together.
Oh,
yeah. So that's how the song structure is.
Okay, Takeoff like got the deep voice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think Takeoff's my favorite Migo. After this, I think it's confirmed after this song.
Okay.
Yeah, as I said, nobody ever.
Damn, bro. Why you gotta do our boy Takeoff like that?
He's the most same sounding every time, huh? Like that deep, like not really.
Yeah,
I enjoy it though. I enjoy that.
I fuck with Takeoff too, for sure.
I feel like you always need that contrasting voice, you know, like all like, you know, Outkast has it too, right? Or Run the Jewels. Like those contrasting styles always end up adding a lot to whatever is being delivered. And I imagine the writing process for this must have been pretty collaborative too, for them to be, you know, going back and forth so often. And so I thought that was definitely dope too.
Hey, but like on the note of Takeoff though, like was he on Bad and Bougie though?
Too soon, dude. Too soon.
Yeah, don't start that. Don't start that
up. We're not gonna go there. Okay.
But yeah, you know, speaking of the writing style of this, you know, I mentioned to you guys that this kind of reminds me of the Welcome to Hell, the sequel with Royce the 5'9" and M, where they have a song on there where they do a similar thing. They don't do it as frequently. You know, on the back and forth, it's not like every other like line or whatever, but they jump back and forth multiple times during the song. And I remember reading somewhere, you know, M was talking about that writing process, and literally that is a super collab. He would write a part of the verse, kind of go show Royce what he did or whatever, and then Royce would then like take it and then go into a room, and then he would respond to it, and then they actually wrote it that way, like each kind of verse going back and forth, by waiting for the other person to finish that part and then kind of responding, you know. So I don't know if these guys sat down together and wrote it together with their verses, or if they were like, okay, now you write a couple lines and then I'll write a couple lines. But just the nature of doing that type of rapping, like it has to be a super collaborative, you know, writing.
I wonder if he wrote Guilty Conscience with Dre like that too.
Oh, right.
So, you know, that's like a line for line type of song.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Dre's pretty well known for not writing his own stuff, so it could have potentially just been, you know, Eminem writing all of it for all we know. I know, like Snoop's written for him in the past. I forget on the last album who was supposed to be doing some of it too, but he's just like very open about it. I mean, he's like, I'm not a lyricist, you know, I make beats and just happen to rap too. I think the story was like they just really wanted Dre to be in NWA and they wanted him to kind of have parts too, so they would just write for him, and that's kind of how everything started, which is pretty interesting.
Fucking be the historian over here.
That was a good point.
He just saw the movie Straight Outta Compton.
I've actually never seen it, man. I'm fucking up.
It's a good movie.
Does it diminish your view on Dr. Dre as a rapper or not?
For me, no. I mean, the fact that he's open about it is,
Right.
you know, it makes a difference for me. And I fucking love Dre, so the more the better.
He's
you
so
know?
talented otherwise that it's hard to be mad at him. You know, he's contributed so much originality to hip hop.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
Trailblazer.
the G-Funk sound, man. I mean, what he defined West Coast music for a long time, and it's just a shame that we don't get more music from him. You know?
Yeah.
I was trying to look up to see if he produced the Massacre, or he probably had a hand in it, because I was at the time when G Unit was still together and the game was on it. So I'm sure I couldn't find it now just on the spot, but I'm sure he had to have produced some of them. But
Probably.
the beats on the Massacre and Back to 50, dude. The beats on the
Yes.
Massacre were so like, it was such a different era. Sorry to change the subject, but maybe not change the subject, because I wonder if Dre had a hand on like the executive producing of that, because those were some dope.
The Massacre is a 50 album.
Yeah, the Massacre is the 50 album. The song Get in My Car is the one that they sample on
Okay. Yeah.
Beat It song. Yeah.
Well, I know it was like Dre put Eminem on and the Eminem put 50 on, right?
Mhm.
Right.
That's kind of how I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, he could very well be associated with that project.
Yeah.
Well, it probably came out on Aftermath, right? Like,
Mhm.
like it had to have been like produced by Aftermath.
Yeah, I would think so. So it's probably likely.
Yeah.
So it's like how many degrees of separation
Yeah.
is
I know.
Dr. Dre from this like single that we're talking about right now?
Right.
So speaking of, when it comes to adding this to your playlist, what do you guys think? I'll go to you first, Jer.
Could I shoot some hoops to this song?
Mm.
Could I take B to the hole listening to this song? No, yeah, this, you know, like I've already said, super high energy. I think it would go good on like a running playlist for sure. Yeah, I gotta say, I'd like to get this on a playlist for sure.
Sweet. Nick?
Yeah, I think I will be adding it to a playlist or two for sure. It's one of those songs that is, you know, when it comes up, especially if it's a big enough playlist, you know, where you don't hear it too often, because that beat can kind of, you know, it's an earworm for sure, but also I think if you were to listen to it too frequently, you might get a little bit tired of it. But I think, it's one of those that if it came up and I hadn't heard in a while or whatever, I'd be like, yes, dude, this song's dope. Like, so definitely expect it to be on some playlists.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna add it to a playlist. I already did. I added it to a couple of these Spotify lists. I have like a million Spotify lists, but I loved it, dude. Ballin' is perfect. I'm glad you reminded B, Jared, to add that to the ball playlist. I'm a big fan. It's on my playlist for sure.
Hell yeah. Yeah, for me, I mean, it checks all the boxes as Amigos and Youngboy fan. So definitely going on my playlist. Actually already is. So don't worry, fellas. It's on the ball playlist. You'll be hearing it at extremely loud volumes in parks nearby. So count on that. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I loved everything about it. And more than anything, I really hope that it brings more spotlight to Youngboy and pushes him a little bit more into the mainstream. He was also just on a really good track with Future too, where they're kind of trading verses back and forth on the new Future album. So seems like it's definitely like his time in the sun, and I hope it ends up, you know, again, just making him blow up a little bit more, because he definitely deserves to be there. Okay, well, thanks for getting together, boys, and reviewing the track. And we'll see you guys on a future episode of In Rotation Podcast.
Yee.